Okay, Kimberly, the great state of Florida has brought us some good news from the world of automotive. We've got lawsuits piling up in the state because of illegal end-of-lease fees. We've got a 4-minute news report from our friend Jeff Weinseer, the investigative reporter down there. I thought we'd watch it together and react. How does that sound?
That sounds great. I have not seen this video. I'm anxious to see what's going on down there in Florida.
Car dealers getting sued by consumers. You're filling in for my dad. You have no clue what's coming. Oh, this has got good things in the making. You ready?
I'm so ready. Let's do it.
An update tonight on a Local 10 News investigation into car dealerships hitting customers with unexpected fees when they go to buy out their current lease. Since our stories, several lawsuits have been filed. Some South Florida dealerships have settled, and a class action lawsuit is now pending.
And Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinseer is back on the case.
I wanted to buy my lease out. I figured it would be an easy thing to do.
Dr. Barry Resnick was wrong, despite the fact his purchase price at the end of the lease was all spelled out in a contract. When he originally leased a 2019 Buick Encore 3 years ago, Lehman Buick wanted to charge him a $250 inspection fee and a $999 dealer fee.
I said, why are you giving me all these fees? Well, this is the way we have to do it. The finance company wants us to do that.
He referenced our prior stories where an attorney said under the Consumer Leasing Act of 1976, you can't charge fees not disclosed in the original lease.
And that's when they stopped talking to me.
Every Buick dealership you called had a fee.
Yes, up until Vera.
Out their leases, but some are finding themselves knocked out of the driver's seat.
Since our first stories hit the air back in March, consumers have taken legal action, according to federal court records.
Kimberly, before we get too deep into the legal actions that are being taken, I just want to mention Jeff Weinseer is a friend of the show. He's been on our live show before, and we appreciate the efforts that he's doing down there in South Florida. I remember one time I spoke to him, Kimberly, and he was talking about how hard it was to get his stories aired because so much of the ad revenue at the television station comes from dealers. Kudos to him for staying on this because last time I checked, Kimberly, when you lease a vehicle, it has a residual value, which is the price you pay when the vehicle is at the end of the lease term. If you want to buy it, you have the option to buy it. You don't have to buy it. Like that is the price, correct?
That is absolutely correct. That's why you sign a contract that tells you all of those things and pretty much what to expect. And I find it extremely interesting that he started calling around to other dealerships, our Dr. Barry here, and all of a sudden nobody would talk to him. That's crazy. And yes, thank you to Jeff Weinseer, if I said that correctly, for bringing this to the forefront. Because you know what? I have a feeling if he didn't, who would?
Well, and you and I both know, and we'll go back to the video here in just a second, but many OEMs, their leasing arms, their captive leasing arms, would no longer allow third parties to buy out leases. So consumers were being forced to go back to an automaker dealership, to the Toyota dealership, to the Buick dealership, et cetera. You couldn't go to CarMax or Carvana and have them buy it from you, even though you probably were in the money on your lease earlier this year, or heck, even still right now. So you're being told you have to go back to the Buick dealership. Then the Buick dealership's trying to add $1,200 worth of fees on top of a price that was already set. You can start to see here why Jeff's story got some legs.
Midway Ford charged one of its customers over $2,200 in fees to buy out a lease. He sued. They settled. Coral Springs Kia charged one of its customers over $1,000 in undisclosed fees in a lease buyout. He too sued. They settled. World Omni Southeast Toyota Finance also settling a lawsuit after Southdade Toyota not only charged their customer $2,200 more than the agreed buyout value in a contract, but then hit him with another $1,494 in undisclosed fees. That's $3,706 more to buy out his Toyota 4Runner. Palmetto 57 Nissan settling a case after overcharging a customer $800 more than the agreed price for a Nissan Rogue and then tacking on $1,200 in fees. That's $2,000 extra. As part of the settlement, those consumers can't talk to us. Right now, federal lawsuits are pending against Deerfield Automotive, operating as King Hyundai, Doral Lincoln, Sheehan Buick GMC.
The list
So I
goes
have to
on and
wonder.
on.
Yeah, this is crazy, isn't it? Crazy. This is so insane, and yet I have to wonder how many people went through with it and didn't sue, didn't bring it to light, didn't say anything about it, didn't know any better. How many people went ahead and did this? And so this is why I always tell people, if you're unsure, the first thing that you should do whenever you want to buy out a lease is pick up the phone and call your leasing company, call the lessor. So if it's a Subaru or GMC, you're going to call them and ask them, what is the process? If they say the process is you go back to a dealer, the manufacturer dealer, and do your buyout there, question the person on the other end of the phone. Should I be charged any additional fees? What does that process look like? You want to touch base with the lessor first before you even begin the process at the dealership. It just gives you some reassurance that no, indeed, there should not be any fees. And pull out the contract. Hopefully you have saved your paperwork. I always tell people to make sure they get copies of the paperwork so that you can see what your residual value is.
Yeah, and you've got a really good point. What do you think? 1% of these people went through and sued? 0.1%? I mean, I can't imagine it's high, right?
Oh my gosh.
Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees just in Florida, I'm sure, have gone into the pockets of car dealers rather than, I don't know, gone towards a mortgage payment or a rent payment because someone simply didn't know better. Again, great reporting from Jeff here.
Sources tell Local 10 News several cases against Gunther Automotive have been settled through arbitration. Those terms are also confidential. Additionally, this class action lawsuit has also been filed against Hyundai Capital, doing business as Genesis Finance, over these fees. But a federal judge has yet to certify this suit as class action, as we reported back in March. Due to a lack of inventory on the lots and high prices, more consumers than ever are buying out their current leases. In Florida, if you sell 3 or more vehicles a year, you need a dealer's license. So the banks and the financial institutions we make payments to monthly send us to the dealer to facilitate the buyouts at the end of the lease. But the dealers make no money facilitating the transactions, so many create these fees. It's a flawed system, and the uneducated consumer winds up getting screwed.
That is a flawed system for sure. Listen, in an up-and-up dealership, because let's not forget there are really good dealerships out there. Whenever someone was buying out a lease, and I was still in the finance office, it is seen as an opportunity to the finance manager to sell products like extended warranty. You can still get extended warranty is perfect for someone that's coming off lease.
Yeah.
And so you can still get these products. It's still seen as an opportunity for the finance manager to make money, especially if they're also facilitating a loan.
Yeah.
You know, they can put a loan together for you and get a flat on it, or maybe hold a point, whatever they're doing. It's still an opportunity for the finance manager. This is so bad, Zach.
I mean, Jeff makes a good point, though. I mean, unless you're making money on the back end of a lease buyout, like let's say it's a cash buyer of their lease, yeah, the dealership is not entitled to make any money, but the finance company, at least in the state of Florida, because you can't buy from the finance company, they would have to get a dealer's license. Well, then they just have to be this little facilitation piece of the puzzle, and they want to make a couple $1,000s doing it and ensue lawsuits.
A few thousand. This is crazy.
Let's finish up the video.
I was really taken aback that
as far as Dr. Resnick's experience at Lehman Buick,
Will you remember this experience with that dealer the next time you buy a car?
Of course.
No one at any of the dealerships just mentioned, nor their attorneys, would actually talk to us on camera. And what about our state attorney general? A spokesperson for Ashley Moody's office says she wasn't available to be interviewed on this issue. Frankly, we couldn't find any state agency currently protecting consumers on this issue at all. Jeff Weinseer, Local 10 News.
That's fantastic. I got to give it yay, Jeff. The question that he asked there at the end with Dr. Barry, will you remember this dealership the next time, around whenever you go to buy a car or whatever? Will you remember this? Oh, yeah, he sure will. Do you think he'll ever go back there again? No. As a matter of fact, I'm sure Dr. Barry has a lot of patients and a lot of friends and a big circle that he's also going to let know about his experience there. Dealerships are just hurting themselves. Unfortunately, Zach, if it does happen to you and you didn't know any better and you went through with that process paying those extra fees, I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV or anywhere else. But I can only imagine that that's going to cost you, the consumer, not only the additional money that you paid out that you weren't aware of, but also the money to go get an attorney and the time to go through the process to jump into an individual or a class action.
Well, and I got to say, Kimberly, this is shame on you to the state of Florida and no one talking to Jeff. I mean, that is a complete joke. I mean, none of these rules, because the CFPB has rules, the FTC has rules, none of these rules matter. State level rules, none of them matter if there's no enforcement. And because dealerships are so powerful in our local communities, we see bad actors take advantage of people. You made the point earlier, not all dealerships are bad. Most dealerships aren't bad. Most people that work in dealerships aren't bad people. You are a great person. You worked in dealerships. My dad is a great person. He worked in dealerships. The fact that there is no enforcement of those who are taking advantage of other people is complete. It's a travesty. It's stupid. And as my dad always says, those who have the least get taken advantage of the most. You know that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I hope that this story gets more press. I hope that there are other stories done by other local NBC, ABC, CBS affiliates out there. And it's a tough story, I'm sure, to get approved by your editor. Or by your director, because so much ad revenue comes from the dealership. But this has happened everywhere. Everyone knows it. Well, maybe they don't, but we know it for sure.
We know it. And if more and more reporters like Jeff can do their best to bring this to the forefront, as he said, in the video, who's there? Who's there to protect? Who's there to help the people nowhere? Nobody. You're on your own. Of course, you've got us talking about it, and that's what we need. And
community
Jeff
forum. I'm thinking community forum, Kimberly. You with your Superwoman cape on. We're trying to help. We to be fair though,
trying.
We got to give ourselves some credit. Like if you were to post it on the community forum, hey, I'm buying out my lease, and here's what the dealership's charging, you would get a lot of people giving you the courage to go back to that dealership and telling them, no, I'm not paying for that. So go online, I guess, is the other resource, but. Kudos to you, Jeff. We'll have to get him on the show. I mean, we'd have to get him back on here and commend him for his reporting. Thanks for your time, Kimberly. This was great.